speaking of a guy that has had a pretty unreal 2 year stretch, played 8 majors, finished top 5 in 4 of them, finished top 10 in 7 of the 8 of them, and really became, I would say, post now that Tiger's basically done and Phil's gone, I would say the star of golf. Now, he's not the most accomplished. Scotty's been better. Koepka's won. Cam Smith beat him. I'm not saying he's the best, right? But just start to finish for the last 2 years, you could argue his resume is as strong as anybody. And who's definitely been the face and most famous guy of golf when you factor in everything that's gone on. I would say maybe Phil Mickelson, and that'd be Rory McIlroy. But it kind of hit me today when he kind of had a moment. I think he birdied, 3 of his first 6 holes. Like, God, could he make a run? Could he shoot like his 64 and somehow force a playoff or something? And then ultimately it didn't happen. And then the dust settles and he finishes T6 and makes a bunch of money. He's kind of become, in his post-major winning career, and especially like his last 3 or 4 years, but you could even argue just the last 24 months, kind of the Jim Harbaugh of golf. I root for Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh is awesome. Like, I enjoyed when he was in San Francisco. I enjoyed when he was at Stanford. I like watching his Michigan teams. And I think his last couple of years for Michigan has been awesome. Taking out Ohio State, beating the crap out of Ryan Day, running the ball down their throat. The playoff game this year against TCU was as entertaining as you're ever going to get. But ultimately, he lost. And Jim Harbaugh, when it comes to big games, for whatever reason, just gets so close and just can't win the championship. You thought he'd win a Super Bowl at San Francisco. I thought he'd win a national championship at Michigan. And I don't know. I wouldn't bet a large sum of money that is going to happen. Like if you said, John, I'll give you 2-1 odds, but you got a minimum bet $10,000 that Jim Harbaugh is going to win a national championship. Couldn't do it. We'll say 5-1. Like I wouldn't feel very good. I think it's very conceivable that he's never going to win a national championship, right? And if he came back to the NFL, I think Jim Harbaugh would immediately be successful. And I think inevitably he'll be back in the NFL. But I don't think there's ever a guarantee that he's going to win a Super Bowl or a national championship. Doesn't mean he won't, because he puts himself near the top and in position. But I would say based on his resume and based on what I've seen in the biggest moments, like, I don't know. It's just a little off. And I would say the same about Rory. Like, Rory is elite. He's fucking awesome. And when he's on, I mean, he was 6 under the last 3 days. Basically the entire tournament beside Brian Harman, he's right there. He easily could have won. If Brian Harman did not show up to this tournament, it might have been different. He's obviously pressing because he's way down. Rory easily could have won this tournament, just like he easily could have won last year at the Open, just like easily he could have won the U.S. Open a month ago, just like he could have won other tournaments over the last couple of years, the majors. And that's ultimately all he's going to be defined on, because he won the FedEx Cup last year. He had the lowest scoring average. He's making 10, 15, $20 million a year on the course, let alone off the course. No one's ever going to question his money. No one's ever going to question his resume. He's a major champion, right? But will he ever win another major? You would go, well, he's putting himself in position a lot. That's what I say about Jim Harbaugh. And then it just never happens. And then I watched this week. I was tempted, like, should I bet him? I didn't. And then I'm glad I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's guaranteed that he's ever going to win another major. That's pretty crazy to say, because every single major moving forward, I know he missed the cut, which was a disaster at the Masters, and then he went MIA for like a month, but he battled right back. PGA, T7, U.S. Open. Again, should have won. He should have won the U.S. Open, but he can't make a putt. And it just gets back like something, I don't want to say off, because he's right there, but it just shows you how difficult it is. Like, you could make the argument that, John, he's not only is he not going to win one, he's going to win a couple more majors if he keeps putting himself in this position. It's very, very difficult, because as we saw, John Rahm and the Brooks Koepkas and the elite players, but then you have these weeks where random guys get like touch from the golf gods and are just going to be better than you. So I'm guilty of this when we're like, oh, this guy's destined to win. Because I say John Rahm, destined to win like 7, 8 majors. More than likely he'll win like 4, right? And go down as one of, if not the greatest player of his generation. But it's like, there's a chance Rory McIlroy just ends his career with 4 majors, maybe 28 wins and a bunch of T4s and T2s and T3s in these majors. But it's very, very difficult. And he's starting to kind of give off some Jim Harbaugh vibes in these tournaments.